revenge. For us. For us. For us.
They say shame has a sound. Mine sounded like my sister's laugh echoing across a room, filled with crystal glasses, and people I barely knew. Your fiancé's family is too good for someone like you, Sabrina teased, her voice sweet enough to rot the air. The chandelier above us kept swaying, though no one else moved. I stared at her reflection in my wine glass, smiling, effortless, venom wrapped in velvet. I didn't cry. I didn't look away. I just sat there, letting her words settle like dust on furniture I'd spent years trying to keep clean. My name is Maya Lorne. I'm 29, an elementary school librarian who still believes in labeling things neatly: books, shelves, memories. But that night, nothing stayed in its place. The Whitfords' dining room glowed with warm gold light. Fresh lilies, polished silverware, soft jazz humming beneath the clatter of plates. It should have felt like a celebration. Instead, I felt my heart folding into itself, small and soundless. Then Daniel's mother, Margaret Whitford, turned her head, slightly, not toward me, toward Sabrina, and the room shifted. Her voice was calm, almost gentle. "That's interesting, Sabrina," she said, "especially coming from someone who tried so hard to convince us not to accept Maya into our family." The laughter died. Even the cutlery seemed to stop breathing. Sabrina blinked. Once. Twice. "What are you talking about?" Margaret reached for her phone, tapping the screen once. "You messaged me last month. 3 times, actually, accusing your sister of being unstable, dishonest, and claiming she drained your grandmother's account." My blood turned cold. A tremor of memory. A signature I didn't recognize. A bank statement that never balanced. Sabrina's face drained of color. That wasn't, "You must have misunderstood." But Margaret wasn't finished. "And the $42,000 missing from your grandmother's inheritance," she continued softly. "We know whose signature was forged. Our attorney confirmed it this morning." I heard the words, but they felt distant, like they were being spoken underwater. My sister had always thrown stones she expected me to quietly pick up, but this time she'd thrown a boulder and expected me to break beneath it. The worst part wasn't the accusation. It was realizing she'd walked into my engagement dinner prepared to humiliate me, with a lie she built on top of a theft she'd pinned on me. The silence that followed was surgical, cutting through the room with elegant precision. My mother shifted in her seat, her bracelet clinking like a confession. Sabrina opened her mouth, but no sound came out. I felt something shift inside me. A quiet click. Not anger, not grief, accuracy. Because what Sabrina didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I hadn't come to this dinner unarmed. I'd spent the entire week gathering documents I never expected to need. Emails I didn't think I'd ever use. Receipts I had tucked away out of habit more than hope. I used to think loyalty meant silence. But silence had been her weapon, not mine. I folded my napkin slowly, grounding myself in the stillness. This wasn't where the story began, but it was the moment something inside me finally stopped bending. You're watching True Revenge, where every betrayal gets what it deserves. But this wasn't a show. It was my life. And to understand how I ended up here, you need to see what came before the fall. Before everything fell apart, my life was small in the kind of way that felt safe, predictable, quiet. I used to think quiet was all I needed. Most mornings began the same. The soft hum of my refrigerator, the faint creak of my apartment floors, and the sunlight slipping through my blinds like it was knocking politely. I'd wake up before my alarm, not because I wanted to, but because peace has a rhythm, and mine had always been cautious. At 29, working as an elementary school librarian. My world revolved around color-coded shelves, tiny hands tugging at my cardigan, and a small wooden desk that shook every time the heater kicked in. I loved it more than I ever expected to. The books stayed where I put them. The children forgave easily. The rules were simple. At home, my life was even quieter. I kept a small journal, nothing dramatic, just 3 lines of gratitude every night. A habit I developed years ago when silence felt more like survival than serenity. Sometimes I'd write about something small, like the smell of old paper, or the way a student proudly showed me the first book they'd ever finished themselves. Other times, I'd stare at the page and write, "I made it through the day." Growing up, surviving the day was a measurable achievement. My sister, Sabrina, was always the hurricane in our house. Older by 5 years, louder by a lifetime. Where I was methodical, she was impulsive. Where I hesitated, she lunged. Where I apologized, she blamed. And our mother, Evelyn, orbited her like the sun had no choice but to shine where Sabrina pointed. I learned early that peace wasn't something you found. It was something you crafted carefully, quietly, and Sabrina learned that chaos was something you could profit from. When our grandmother passed, her small inheritance had been meant to give both of us a start in life. Mine was supposed to help me refinance my student loans. Sabrina's was supposed to go toward the business she never actually planned to start. But money has a way of revealing people, some more painfully than others. I didn't know then what she'd already taken, what she'd already forged, what she'd already framed. I just kept believing family deserved patience, even when it hurt. Meeting Daniel changed something in me I didn't realize needed changing. He was steady in a way that didn't feel heavy. Not perfect, not polished, but warm, present, grounded. He treated conversations like they mattered, treated me like I mattered. It terrified me at first, how safe I felt with him. His family, the Whitfords, felt like stepping into a home where no one was keeping score. Not flawless, just functional, kind, balanced. Everything mine wasn't. Daniel liked to tease me for how nervous I got around his mother, Margaret, but she always smiled in a way that made my shoulders relax. She saw people carefully, like she was reading between their sentences. Maybe that's why she noticed the tension long before I admitted it existed. When Daniel proposed, I cried, not because of the ring, but because it was the first time I felt chosen without being compared, without being measured, without being found lacking. I should have known Sabrina wouldn't allow that peace to last. At first, she pretended to be thrilled for me. But Sabrina loved applause, not happiness, especially not mine. Every compliment she offered came with a pause in the middle, like she was searching for a way to turn it into a warning. "You're lucky he's patient," she said once. "You're lucky his family is polite. You're lucky someone finally sees you. Lucky, like love was charity. My mother didn't help. She rarely did. 'Maya, don't provoke your sister,' she'd say. You know how she gets." As if Sabrina were weather, not a person. But looking back, the signs were there, faint cracks beneath the surface of every smile, every comment, every accidental slight. I just kept patching them, hoping the structure would hold. It didn't, and the night of the engagement dinner was only the moment it finally broke. The night Daniel proposed, I thought I understood love. I thought it was quiet dinners, soft conversations, the warmth of his hand over mine in grocery store parking lots. I thought it was the ease between us, the kind that made people smile when they saw us together. But love changes shape under pressure, and sometimes it reveals something you didn't want to see. It began small, a hesitance in his voice, a softness that wasn't tenderness. It was fear. Fear of disappointing someone who wasn't me. His mother. Her approval meant more to him than he ever admitted. More than I ever wanted to believe. 3 weeks after the engagement, I noticed the shift. Daniel stopped calling on his lunch breaks. Stopped sending the small, thoughtful messages he used to. Stopped sounding like himself. When I asked if everything was okay, he smiled, the kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. Yeah, just overwhelmed. Family stuff. Family. Always family. I didn't push. I've never been the pushing type. But the distance widened in ways silence couldn't hide. The real break began the night I met his parents for dinner, the night his mother sat across from me, elegant and cold, wearing a pearl necklace that looked like it had never known warmth. She asked questions disguised as compliments. "You're a librarian? That's sweet. You grew up in a small town, right? Daniel loves humble people. You two seem very happy. I just hope you're ready for the lifestyle our family maintains." Every word felt like a velvet knife. But Sabrina's presence made it worse. She lingered at the table like she belonged there, laughing softly with Daniel's mother, offering small insights about my childhood that I never gave her permission to share. "She's sensitive," Sabrina said once. "She takes things really personally." Then she smiled at me across the table. A smile that said she enjoyed every second of this. The betrayal didn't happen in one moment. It happened in layers. Dinner ended. My hope didn't. 2 nights later, Daniel asked to come over. He stood in my living room the way people stand before exiting. Shoulders tight, hands clasped, eyes refusing to settle. "Maya," he said, voice low. My mom brought something to my attention. Something Sabrina said. The air shifted, subtle but unmistakable. He avoided my gaze. "She told us you've been hiding things," he said, "that there was a trust fund issue. Some drama with your family, about money going missing." I froze, not because of the accusation, but because of how easily he believed it. "Daniel," I whispered, "that's a lie." "I'm not saying it's true," he replied quickly. I need you to talk to her. Clear the air. Talk to her." My voice stayed calm, but something inside me cracked. "Yes," he said. "She's uncomfortable. And I need you two to get along. Please." I waited for him to say the words that mattered. "I believe you. I'm on your side. You don't owe my family an apology." He said none of them. Instead, he exhaled slowly, like this was costing him more than it cost me. "If you love me," he whispered, "just fix this." Fix. As if I had broken something. As if Sabrina's lies were my responsibility. As if his mother's judgment was a test I had failed. Silence hung between us. Heavy, suffocating, instructional. It taught me everything I needed to know. Still, I tried once. "Daniel," I said softly, "you're asking me to apologize for something I didn't do." He rubbed his forehead. "I just need peace, Maya. My family is already stressed. I can't handle more drama." Drama. So that's what I was to him now. Not a partner. A problem. He stepped back then, literally, like the air between us had become too dense. "Maybe we should take a pause," he murmured. "Just until things settle." A pause. A suspension. A soft erasure. My heart didn't break loudly. It cracked the way ice cracks beneath warm hands. Quietly, inevitably. "You're choosing them," I said. He swallowed. "I'm choosing stability." Those were the last words he spoke before he ended us. Not with anger. Not with cruelty. With cowardice disguised as calm. He left my apartment without looking back. The door clicked shut, and something else clicked inside me. Clarity. That was the moment I stopped begging and started taking notes. The night Daniel left, the apartment felt unfamiliar. Not because he was gone, but because something inside me had gone with him. Not love, not hope, illusion. The illusion that loyalty was mutual, that love meant protection, that silence was safety. I sat on the edge of my bed, still wearing the sweater I'd put on for him. Soft, blue, hopeful. It felt like a costume now. The room hummed with the low buzz of the heater. A streetlight flickered outside my window, like a warning I had ignored for too long. I didn't cry. I didn't text him. I didn't chase him into the hallway. I opened my laptop. The glow felt harsher tonight. Not like light, more like interrogation. Every betrayal leaves a trail. I just hadn't bothered to look for mine before. I pulled up my email first, scrolled through months of threads. Nothing seemed out of place until I checked my spam folder, a place I rarely touched. It was full. Redirected inheritance notices, account alerts that were never meant to reach me, half-complete password reset attempts, and one message from the estate attorney dated 3 months earlier, confirming beneficiary update request submitted by Sabrina Lorne. Your signature did not match previous documents. My heart didn't drop. It steadied, like a compass finally pointing north. I opened the attached PDF. My name appeared in looping cursive at the bottom, except I hadn't signed anything that month. I zoomed in. The ink wavered. The slant was wrong. The loops uneven. Forged. Amateurishly. Carelessly. And yet, Daniel believed her. That realization sank deeper than the fraud itself. I pulled up another folder. One I hadn't touched since my grandmother died. Her handwritten will, scanned copies she'd sent me just in case. I compared the original signatures with the new ones. The difference was undeniable. This wasn't a mistake. It was a pattern, a deliberate erasure of me, a recalculating of a life in which I wasn't meant to have anything. Around 1:17 a.m., I called the only person who'd ever understood the cost of silence. Mrs. Alden, my former administrator. The woman who once told me rule books exist because people don't like fairness. She answered on the second ring. Maya. Her voice held that soft firmness I'd always trusted. What happened? Everything, I said quietly. I didn't break. I didn't spill the story all at once. Just the truth. Someone's been trying to erase me. She didn't ask who. She didn't ask why. Come by my office in the morning, she said, and bring everything. By sunrise, I was in her office, a steaming thermos of her coffee waiting for me on the table. She didn't hug me, didn't pity me, just nodded at the stack of papers in my arms. Show me. I laid everything out. The forged documents, the altered emails, the bank alerts Sabrina intercepted, and the notes Daniel had left behind in the shape of silence. Mrs. Alden reviewed every page. She never rushed, never gasped, never trembled. People who work in schools know exactly what betrayal looks like in children and in adults. This wasn't impulsive, she finally said. This is structured. The word hit me harder than expected. Structured, organized, intentional. This, she added, tapping the forged signature, isn't just family drama. This is fraud. And Daniel? I asked quietly. She folded her hands. He didn't betray you by accident, Maya. He betrayed you because it was easier. The truth settled into my chest with a strange kind of warmth. The warmth of clarity burning away confusion. She handed me a card with a name on it. Attorney Clara Whitmore. She's quiet, Mrs. Alden said, but she sees everything. Clara's office smelled like eucalyptus and old paper, the scent of things preserved and protected. She studied every document with the stillness of someone trained to dissect truth from emotion. After nearly an hour, she removed her glasses. This is serious, she said softly. You've been the target of a coordinated effort to redirect funds, alter documents, and misrepresent your character. I swallowed, and my fiancé, Clara, didn't soften her answer. He believed the lie because it was comfortable, a beat, and because she made it believable. Sabrina, I whispered, and his mother, Clara added. They worked in tandem, different motives, same outcome. I stared at the stack of documents, my life reduced to evidence. Do you want to pursue legal action? She asked. I let the silence stretch. No, I said finally. I want balance. Clara nodded slowly, as if she'd been waiting for that word. Then we'll start with disclosures, she said, and let the truth do the rest. The truth was already doing its work. I felt it settling inside me, not like anger, but like precision. I stopped asking why they did it. I started asking how they thought I'd never find out. That night, I sat at my kitchen table again. The documents spread around me, the truth glowing on every page. Sabrina had tried to take my legacy. Daniel had tried to make me apologize for it, and his mother had tried to decide my worth. They thought they were dismantling me. They were only organizing my resolve. Knowing the truth wasn't enough. I wanted balance, and I knew exactly where to begin. Balance doesn't begin with confrontation. It begins with silence. The right kind. The kind that makes guilty people nervous and innocent people steady. I didn't block anyone. I didn't argue with anyone. I didn't defend myself to anyone. I withdrew, quietly, deliberately, and in that empty space, the truth had room to breathe. Step 1, documentation. I compiled every forged signature, every altered email, every redirected alert. I organized them not by date, but by intent. Patterns reveal themselves when you let them speak. Step 2, disclosures. Clara drafted a formal request to the estate attorney. Clear, unemotional, impossible to ignore. A request for full transaction logs, signature verification, communication archives, asset distribution statements. Not an accusation. A mirror. Step 3, the engagement. Not repairing it. Closing it. I wrote a short message to Daniel requesting a final meeting in public somewhere neutral. Not to reconcile. To document the end. Clara approved the wording. Mrs. Alden approved the timing. Daniel responded with relief. The kind that confirmed everything I suspected. He thought this would fix things. He thought I would bend. He didn't understand the quiet shift inside me. Step 4, protect what's mine. Clara, and I updated my legal documents. My will, my estate contacts, my emergency beneficiaries. Nothing tied to my name would ever be used against me again. Step 5, silence. Not avoidance. Strategy. I waited, and like clockwork, the guilty people began to panic in the dark I created. I wasn't looking for revenge. I wasn't looking for an apology. I wasn't looking for closure. I was looking for accountability. And accountability was already on its way. Revenge didn't arrive like a storm. It arrived like a letter. Neat, unemotional, undeniable. It was Clara who sent it. A formal packet addressed to Sabrina, my mother, and by protocol, the estate attorney handling my grandmother's inheritance. Inside were copies of everything. The forged signatures, the unauthorized withdrawals, the email forwarding setup, the attempted transfer flagged by the bank, the estate records she altered. It was factual, surgical, not a single unnecessary word. I didn't need dramatics. Truth was loud enough. The reactions came quickly. Sabrina called first. 5 times. Then 8. And then 12. I didn't answer. Silence is a mirror, and she finally saw herself in it. Next came my mother, a voicemail spoken in a trembling whisper. Maya, please don't do this to her. To her, not to me. I saved the voicemail, not out of spite, out of documentation. By noon, the estate attorney called requesting a discussion. By 3 p.m., they requested a formal meeting. Clara attended with me, not because I needed representation, but because I needed clarity. The conference room smelled of legal pads and quiet consequences. Sabrina arrived late, eyes swollen, hair unkempt in a way I'd never seen before. She didn't look at me. She looked at the papers spread across the table, evidence of her own design. The attorney cleared his throat. Miss Lorne, the signatures in question were confirmed as forgeries. The financial transfers were unauthorized. There are significant legal ramifications. Sabrina lifted her head, voice breaking. I just wanted what you had. I didn't respond, not because I didn't have words, but because none were necessary. Clara spoke instead, calm and precise. What she had was hers. You didn't just take money, you attempted to remove her from her own legacy. Silence settled like dust. Sabrina's breathing grew shallow. My mother whispered her name, reaching for her hand. But Sabrina pulled away. Guilt wasn't the punishment. The mirror was. The attorney slid a new document toward her. A repayment agreement, a relinquishment of claim, a written admission of wrongdoing, not criminal charges, not public humiliation, just accountability, the kind she had never known. She stared at it, then at me, then back at the paper. Maya, please, I'll lose everything. I finally spoke, quiet, steady, the way still water hides a tide. You tried to make sure I lost everything first. Her tears didn't move me. Her shaking hands didn't, either. Because for the first time, I saw her clearly. She wasn't my sister. She was a storm I had spent my whole life standing in. And now, I had stepped out. Sabrina signed the documents with the same hand she once used to forge mine. My mother cried, softly. Daniel's mother later emailed an apology of her own. Short, sincere, unexpected. Daniel reached out too, not to rekindle anything, but to admit he had believed a lie, because it was easier than questioning his own family. I accepted his apology, but not his return. Revenge wasn't the destruction of their lives. It was the reconstruction of mine. When the meeting ended, I walked out of the building into crisp evening air. The city hummed around me, unconcerned, alive. My phone vibrated once. A final message from Sabrina. I hope one day you can forgive me. I didn't reply. Forgiveness wasn't part of the plan. Freedom was. They called it karma. I called it closure. In the weeks that followed, my life didn't change suddenly. It changed quietly, the way morning light slowly fills a room before you realize the sun has risen. Sabrina kept her distance, not because a court order forced her to, but because accountability has a way of humbling even the loudest people. The repayment plan went into effect. Small amounts, scheduled monthly, enough to remind her of the truth she spent years trying to bury. My mother tried reaching out once more. A short message. Soft. Careful. Maya, I miss you. Can we start over? There were years when those words would have broken me open. Years when I would have run back just to feel chosen. But healing changes what you need, what you allow, who you return to. I didn't block her. I didn't argue. I didn't punish. I just didn't respond. Some distances don't need closing. Some cycles don't need repeating. Daniel married someone else 6 months later. I saw the announcement. A small ceremony by the lake. His mother sent me a handwritten note thanking me for my grace. I smiled, because grace wasn't what I had given him, or her. I had given them truth, and a door they could walk through without me. As for me, life found a new rhythm, quieter, steadier, mine. I returned to the library with a calm I didn't recognize at first. The children's voices, the rustle of pages, the softness of routine. All of it felt like home in a way my family never had. Mrs. Alden checked on me every week. Clara invited me to dinner with her family once. Even the school janitor, Mr. Torres, began leaving small sticky notes with book recommendations on my desk. I wasn't rebuilding a life. I was discovering one. Sometimes late at night, I'd sit by the window with tea and think about everything that happened. The engagement dinner, the forged signatures, the whispered insults in candlelight. It no longer made my chest tighten. It made me grateful for distance, for clarity, for the version of myself I had finally become. I used to think revenge meant evening the scales. Now I know it meant walking away with my dignity intact. Some people lose you because they never valued you. Some people lose you because you finally valued yourself. Peace wasn't loud. It was earned. This was true revenge, where pain becomes purpose and betrayal becomes balance. If you want more cinematic stories told in quiet, devastating truth, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.